afternoon and welcome back to another video. How are we all doing? All good, I hope. So in today's video we're going to be talking about the 5 things you should do once you've bought your Surron. Now out of the box these things are absolutely awesome, you know that. But there are a few things you can do to make them even better. So let's jump straight into it. So number 1, the first thing you should be looking to do is cutting that green wire. So where the electrical connectors connect to the battery, you're going to find a series of wires in there. And amongst one of those wires there's a green looped wire. And if you cut that wire, this will literally unlock the potential of the Surron. You're going to get a higher top speed, higher acceleration, and massively improve the performance of the Surron. The one thing I will say though is once you've cut that green wire, make sure that you do tape either end up, just when you are washing the bike or the bike gets wet. It's just going to stop any unwanted water getting into the electrics of the bike. The next thing you'd be looking to do is turn off the regen. Now this isn't going to suit everyone's style, but for me this was an absolute must. The sort of places I ride are just like this, all off-road. I want to get as much speed and as much torque as I possibly can. What I found with the regen is it's kind of a double-edged sword. You use all that battery power to get up to that speed, and then as soon as you let go of the throttle, all it's doing is slowing the bike back down. And what I did find is it's actually not generating much power back to the battery, so for me it was a little bit of a waste of time. Now if you're riding quite slow and sort of downhill, this could be a bit of an advantage, but what you actually gain from doing that I don't really feel is really worth it. The next thing I would be looking to change are the brake sensors. Now again, this all depends on the experience of the rider. Now for me the brake sensors, I just couldn't really get on with them. What I found with the brake sensors, it just made the bike a little bit more harder to control. As you're going into a corner, if you are riding off-road, you want to be able to feather the throttle as you're accelerating, just to get around those corners a little bit quicker. There's nothing worse than going to hit the throttle and find that there's nothing there because you are feathering that throttle and it's just completely cut it out. The other thing I found as well is when you're trying to wheelie one of these, you're going to find it near on impossible. As soon as you get that wheel up, you are going to need to feather the brake yet again. But having those brake sensors on there, as soon as you touch that back brake, you're going to cut all the power to the bike and you're going to find it impossible to get the bike back up onto the back wheel. So turning the brake sensors off is a really easy process. You've got 2 ways of doing it. You can either simply snip the cable that comes out of the brake lever, which I probably wouldn't advise doing. The other way is just to trace the cables all the way back to the main electrics of the bike. It's really simple to do. You just take off the key ignition plate and you'll just see that they are simply just plugged in. So just disconnect them, job done. Again, what I would do is tape the ends up just to prevent any water getting in when you're washing the bike or riding it. Now by doing the brake sensors and the regen, I find the bike a lot more efficient. Now I know that's really contradicting to say because obviously the regen is there to obviously put power back into the battery as you let go of the throttle, but quite honestly you're going to find coasting the bike like this way more efficient than having the bike slow completely down and then having to pin the throttle again to get back up to the speed you're at. Don't get me wrong, it's a lovely touch to have, and I think if you were doing a lot of downhill and not really using the throttle, definitely worth having on, but for mainstream riding like this I don't really feel that it's worth it. Now the next thing I'd say to go and do, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but the money you're going to spend on this is going to be so worth it in the long run. So yeah, it is definitely worth going ahead and buying the Hugger mudguard along with the rear mudguard that comes down from the seat. The amount of protection that is going to offer the bike, especially riding off-road, muddy trails, dusty trails, it's going to really protect that rear suspension. Especially now we're coming back into winter. And let's be honest, none of us like cleaning our bikes. We love riding them, but we hate cleaning them. And if you can just save a little bit of time and also just protecting all the bearings that are encased in there as well, I mean, this is a typical ride for me, and you can already see just the amount of crap that collects. So imagine if all of this was encased all into the rear shock, into your belt drive, into your jack shaft, just places that you really don't want it. So yeah, 100% would recommend these two. That's all right, no worries. I saw it on the floor back there, so I thought you were looking for it. All right.
Wicked bike.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much.
How much
Thank
quiet?
you.
Yeah.
I lose everything.
No.
Have a
You
lovely ride.
No worries. Cheers, guys.
So much.
See you later. And I would say that moves on to my last point, which is the suspension. Now, I actually don't mind the suspension on the Surron as standard. And there's nothing really that you need to do to it, apart from just get yourself familiar with the settings. So the two settings you've got are the preload and the rebound. So very straightforward. The preload is as you push the suspension down, it's how firm you want that to be. And obviously rebound is how quickly it comes back again. So it's all going to depend on the style of riding. I guess if you're on road, you're probably going to want it a little bit firmer. Mine's pretty much all off-road. I like mine quite soft. If I'm out doing jumps and things like that, then I like the preload to be quite stiff, but the rebound to be quite soft, so it's coming back nice and quick. So both of these settings are on the front and the rear shocks. Again, I like my rear shock to be nice and soft, especially riding stuff like this. The last thing you want to be is thrown about, getting in from a ride with a massive headache just because it's so stiff and so hard. But again, these are super easy things to get your head around. It's literally just trial and error. Now with the front shocks, they are full of air, not springs. So this can be, again, really easily adjusted by getting a shock pump. They're about £20, I think, from Halfords if you're in the UK. Online, I'm sure you can pick them up for even less. But the bottom of the suspension, you've basically got a valve. Take the cap off, stick the pump in, and then just go up to your desired PSI. But there we are. That's probably my 5 main things that you'd want to do to your Surron once you've got it. I'm sure there are a million other things, but if you feel there's anything I've missed, go ahead and put it in the comments. We're all here to help each other out. But as always, guys, thank you ever so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But yeah, cheers, guys. And I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.